Khamzat Chimaev is one of UFC's newest stars, yet there's still something very mysterious about him. That's what's super intriguing. He exploded on the UFC scene, starching his opponents in his debut, and since then he's made himself known as one of the top contenders to look out for. Who is he? Where did he come from? What's up with the scar on his face, and what's his story? These are all questions that many people, including myself, have had, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the man who calls himself the Wolf. This is the Khamzat Chimaev story. Now before we get into this video, I'm just going to ask if you guys could smash the like button and hit the subscribe button, as I put tons of work into these videos. Appreciate all of you guys watching. Anyways, back to the story. Chimaev was born in a small village in Chechnya in 1994, on the cusp of the First Chechen-Russian War. Chechnya was formerly a part of the Russian-Soviet Union, and following its dissolvement after the Cold War, split up into two republics. The Chechen Republic, where he's from, sought independence from the Russian government, splitting from Russia and becoming its own republic. In 1994, right around the time when Chimaev was born, Russia invaded and declared war with the Republic of Chechnya, aiming to reclaim the government. This resulted in a multi-year war where many lives were lost. This war was a big part of Khamzat's story, as he recalls being born right in the middle of it all, describing how hard it was, seeing people around him die, being poor, and not having the best opportunities in life. Every hero has an origin story, and this may have been what birthed the hunger of the wolf, Khamzat Chimaev. Shortly after he was born, at age 2, he suffered an accidental injury where he fell off a set of concrete stairs, splitting his lip open. This created breathing issues that made it so he could only breathe from one of his nostrils. Being in a small, poor village as a 2-year-old in the middle of a war, this clearly presented a problem and an issue that he had to overcome early on. That's where he gets the infamous scar that's on his face today. Growing up in a small village, he said wrestling was always a huge thing. He began wrestling at age 5 and very quickly became prominent in the local scene, going on to winning many gold medals and competitions in the future. During this time, there wasn't much opportunity to make a living wrestling though, and seeing his family and people around him struggle throughout the early years of his life, he was always looking for a better way to live the good life and make sure that his people never had to struggle again. Growing up, he continued wrestling, honing his skills, fighting, competing, later going on to win a bronze medal at the Junior Russian National Championships in wrestling. This began drawing attention from people around him, as Chechnya, Russia, Dagestan, and that general surrounding area all have a very rich history in combat sports. Khamzat says he's fought his whole life, in the gym, out the gym. It was a way to express his frustration growing up in such a rough environment. He says if it wasn't for his older brother, he might be sitting in a jail cell somewhere, as sometimes he let the anger get the better of him, and sometimes he loses control of his emotions. This is another reason he says he's so ruthless in competition. Sometimes he just can't be stopped. One of his famous sayings, "I'm hungry, brother, I'm hungry," isn't meant to be a metaphoric statement at all. He's very much so been very hungry for a better life since he was just a kid. That hunger is literally what drove him to pursue martial arts and be the competitor that he is. While still a teenager, Khamzat's older brother, who also wrestled, moved to Sweden to try and provide a better life for the family. He began training there. Shortly after, Khamzat and some of his other family members joined him and took the next step that would eventually take Khamzat to where he is today. However, moving to Sweden wasn't the end-all be-all to his problems. Being raised in Chechnya with very little English, very little money, and then moving to Sweden as immigrants proved to be an entirely different challenge. The family was unable to obtain Swedish passports and paperwork. Instead, they were only able to get residency. This became an issue for Khamzat to compete later on. He said he was dominating many of the top wrestlers in Sweden, including wrestlers who ended up going on to win medals at the Olympics. Yet he had a hard time being able to compete internationally because he wasn't legally a Swedish citizen, he had no passport or paperwork. He wanted nothing more than just to compete in big world championships, the Olympics, fighting on a higher platform so he could give his family a better life, but he was unable to do so. This bred a fire of frustration inside him, knowing that he was good enough to compete and win, but was always held back because of his past and lack of opportunity. While all this is still going on, he's living with his mother, brothers, and sisters in a small apartment in Sweden, a foreign country where they knew no one, spoke little English, and had no money. He said it would make him sad seeing his mother struggle every single day. She sacrificed everything to give her family a better life. He began working in a poultry factory on his off time to help provide for the family. Every morning before work, he will go out running past big houses, apartments, visualizing and dreaming of the day that he can move his family into one of them. Nonetheless, Khamzat continued his training and competing. When he got to Sweden, he began wrestling and training at multiple gyms throughout the country. In 2016 and 17, he competed in the Swedish Freestyle National Wrestling Championships, taking home a gold medal at 86 kilos in each year respectively. The following year, he ended up winning another gold medal at 92 kilos. Just a few years into his stay in Sweden, and he's quickly becoming recognized as one of the best freestyle wrestlers in the country. Chimaev had a series of dominant performances in that tournament, posting an overall record of 12-0. At this point, Khamzat was really only wrestling though, and one day while he was working overnight at the factory, he was taking a quick 10-minute break from work. Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor title fight was actually playing on TV. In this moment, it sparked the idea that would go on to change his life. In an interview with Brett Okamoto, he said,
I was look at that, like if the guys make so many money, like millions and this stuff, why I can't do it now? Everything, I'm fighter, I'm warrior, like feel that when I was born, all the time I feel like something special inside in me. And
knew he was good enough to compete on the biggest platform, but knew that wrestling alone wouldn't get him there. From that point on, he pivoted from purely wrestling to training MMA. MMA offers much more opportunities on a global level. After all, the UFC is quickly becoming one of the most popular promotions, and MMA is becoming one of the most popular sports in the world. So that's exactly what he did. At age 23, he began training MMA for the first time at All-Star Training Center in Stockholm, Sweden, along with three-time UFC heavyweight champion challenger Alexander Gustafsson, among other fighters. In September 2017, he made his MMA debut at 23 years old. Between September 2017 and April 2018, Chimaev had his first 3 amateur MMA fights, starching his opponents in every single fight within the first 2 rounds. Once he proved that he could hang in the MMA octagon on an amateur level, he decided to turn pro. On May 26, 2018, he fought his first professional fight and won via technical knockout in the second round. After having his first 2 pro fights in Sweden, Chimaev signed with Middle Eastern organization Brave Combat Federation, or BCF. He fought his first fight in that promotion against an undefeated prospect, Marko Kisic. He ended up winning the fight via TKO in the first round after dropping his opponent with the left hand. Chimaev had a quick turnaround for his next fight as he took on Sidney Wheeler on short notice in December of 2018, ending up going on to winning the fight via TKO in the first 35 seconds, another dominant performance. In April, Chimaev decided to move up to welterweight for the first time. He won the bout again via knockout after landing an uppercut in the first round. This performance actually earned him his Knockout of the Night award, and coming from a wrestle-only background, Khamzat ended up going on to knocking out 2 opponents in a row in the first round, only 2 years into beginning training MMA. He fought one more time in Brave CF, claiming another victory before he was supposed to challenge for the title in April 2020. Unfortunately, this is when the COVID pandemic hit and the fight ended up falling through. But luckily for him, it was kind of a blessing in disguise as he ended up going on to sign with the UFC around that same time. From that point on, he burst onto the UFC circuit, continuing his record of smashing and dominating his opponents as he broke records in his first 3 UFC fights. Everything that Khamzat had been working for his whole life was finally starting to pay off. The life that he envisioned for him and his family when he first moved to Sweden, competing against the best athletes on the biggest platform, was finally coming to fruition. He quickly started earning enough to take care of his family, his mother, making good on his promise of giving his mom the good life and paying her back for everything she sacrificed for him and his family. Chimaev made his UFC debut in a middleweight bout against John Phillips on July. He won the fight via submission in the second round, taking no damage while completely dominating his opponent. This win actually earned him his first Performance of the Night award, earning him a fat $50,000 bonus check, which I'm sure he brought back to his family. After that dominant victory, he made it known that he wanted to fight again as soon as possible, even saying that he wanted to fight the same day if he could. So Dana White got on the phone and booked him 10 days later on July 25th, where Chimaev ended up facing UFC newcomer Rise McKee. Once again, he ended up completely dominating his opponent, winning the fight via TKO in the first round. This earned him his second Performance of the Night bonus award, racking him in $100,000 in bonus money alone in only 10 days. This win also marked a new UFC record for the fastest consecutive wins in modern UFC history, 10 days. So only 10 days into his UFC career, he starched both of his opponents, had the whole UFC looking at him, made $100,000 in bonus money. If that's not impressive, I don't know what is. Only a couple months later, in September, Chimaev was booked for his 3rd UFC appearance against Gerald Meerschaert.
UFC, Ariel, I am the kryptonite to his Superman, all right? Everything he does well, I can turn that into a bad situation for him, and I'm going to show everyone that on September 19th.
Only 17 seconds into round 1, Chimaev ended up knocking Mearshad out pretty much with the first punch he threw, knocking him out unconscious.
When you want, I'm gonna fight you.
This win actually earned him his 3rd straight Performance of the Night award, as well as a new UFC record, as it was the fastest 3-fight winning streak in modern UFC history. Chimaev was scheduled to face Leon Edwards, a fighter at the very top of the division, after only having 3 UFC fights. Unfortunately, they both ended up having issues with COVID and that fight fell through. Chimaev's case with COVID actually ended up a bit more serious than originally thought to be. He had lingering effects for a few months, eventually posting on Instagram photos of him coughing up blood, saying that he couldn't train. Got him pretty emotional because during this time, he hinted with posts saying that he wanted to retire from MMA because it's just not worth it, and just what he was going through with COVID at the time made him want to stop training. Dana White eventually got him right, flew him out to Las Vegas, got the best doctors for him, and they put him on prednisone, and he eventually recovered and found his motivation again. Chimaev returned to the octagon for his 4th UFC fight on October 30th of 2021, once again winning the fight in a dominant fashion, actually picking up his opponent, carrying him to his corner's side of the octagon while screaming and talking to Dana White with his opponent still in his arms. You know, seconds later, actually choking his opponent out unconscious and winning the fight. This win earned him his 4th straight Performance of the Night award. That brings us up to today. Chimaev is currently scheduled to face Gilbert Burns at UFC 273 on April 9th. Gilbert Burns is ranked number 2 in the division. A dominant win against him will most likely get Chimaev a title shot next. He's never lost a fight in his amateur or his professional career. In fact, he says he's never lost a fight since he was in the 5th grade. I know there's not much to go off based off his UFC experience, only 4 fights, but this guy is different. Researching his backstory, his style, and his former fights, there should be no more doubt that this guy is something special and potentially one of the best in the world. Can't wait to see him challenge for gold in the octagon, whenever that may be, but until then, this has been the Khamzat Chimaev story. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the like button, leave a comment down below who you want me to make a video of next. I'm out. Take it easy.